On May 15, 1855, £12,000 in gold, 224 pounds of it, was stolen from a moving train between London and Dover. The theft wasn't discovered for days. The boxes passed through 4 separate weigh stations. Every time the weight matched exactly, because the thieves had replaced the gold with lead shot. Ounce for ounce, in the dark, on a moving train. You're listening to The Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. This episode's narration is AI-generated. The research, writing, and editorial decisions behind every story are made with care for accuracy and respect for those involved. Today, a dismissed railway employee, a professional thief, and a white handkerchief signal the start of Britain's first great train robbery. London Bridge Station, evening of May 15, 1855. Gas lamps flickered on the platform as passengers boarded the 8:30 mail service to Folkestone. Steam and coal smoke hung in the cool night air. 3 wooden boxes sat in the guard's van. Each one was bound with iron hoops and sealed with wax bearing the coat of arms of the bullion dealers. Inside the boxes, Chubb steel safes, 3 feet on each side, 1-inch thick steel, hinged lids with 2 keyholes each. Inside the safes, gold. Hundreds of American $10 gold eagles, gold bars, 224 pounds of it, 12,000 pounds sterling, bound for Paris. The Southeastern Railway had been moving gold across the Channel for years. The system was simple and secure. The safes required 2 keys, one held by the railway superintendent, one held by the traffic manager. No single person could open them alone. The boxes were weighed at London Bridge before departure. They'd be weighed again at Folkestone before being loaded onto the Channel ferry, then at Boulogne when they arrived in France, then at the Bank of France in Paris when they were finally opened. 4 checkpoints, 4 separate weigh stations. If even 1 ounce was missing, the discrepancy would be caught immediately. It was, by every measure, a secure system. But William Pierce had been watching that system for over a year. Pierce was 37, large-faced, clumsy in his movements. He had a taste for loud waistcoats and fancy trousers, the kind of man you'd notice in a crowd but wouldn't take seriously. He'd worked for the Southeastern Railway until they dismissed him for gambling. After that, he worked as a ticket printer for betting shops. He had access to railway schedules, cargo manifests, and, most importantly, the gossip of men who still worked the line. He learned that the 2-key system had a weakness. In practice, only one of the 2 locks was typically secured. The second key was a formality. Pierce brought in Edward A. Wygar. Just under 40, professional thief since age 18. He'd spent 10 years in Australia and the United States, learning his trade. He had £3,000 in bonds and lived in a fashionable villa in Shepherd's Bush. He was, by all accounts, very good at opening safes. In May of 1854, a full year before the robbery, Pierce and A. Wygar travelled to Folkestone to watch the security procedures. They attracted police attention immediately, 2 well-dressed men asking too many questions about the railway's gold shipments. They left Folkestone and went back to planning. The problem wasn't the safes. A. Wygar could open those. The problem was the keys. The Southeastern Railway kept the keys in 2 separate offices, one in the superintendent's desk at London Bridge, one in the traffic manager's office in Folkestone. Getting impressions of those keys would require inside help. Pierce recruited 2 railway employees. James Burgess, a guard who'd worked for the company since 1843, married, thrifty, respectable. He often guarded the bullion trains. His wages had been reduced after the railway boom ended, and he was bitter about it. And William Tester, well-educated, wore a monocle, worked as assistant to the superintendent at London Bridge. He had access to cargo manifests and guard rotors. He knew exactly when the gold shipments were scheduled. Micro Cliffhanger 1. In July of 1854, the Southeastern Railway lost a key. The safes were sent to CHUB to have new locks installed, which meant that in October, when the new keys arrived, Tester was able to smuggle one out of the office. Tester brought the key to a beer house on Tooley Street in London. A. Wygar pressed it into warm wax, once, twice, 3 times, making sure the impression was perfect. Then Tester smuggled the key back into the office before anyone noticed it was missing. Wygar sent the wax impression to a locksmith, not in London, where questions might be asked, but to a craftsman he trusted in another city. The duplicate key came back 2 weeks later, one key down, one to go. The second key was kept in the traffic manager's office in Folkestone. The office was locked during the week, but on weekends, when the manager met the incoming boats, the office was left unattended. Pierce and Wygar walked from Dover to Folkestone one Saturday night. They broke into the unlocked office while the staff was down at the harbour. They found the key. Wygar made another wax impression. By late 1854, they had duplicate keys to both locks. Having the keys wasn't enough. Wygar needed to practice. Between April and May of 1855, Wygar made 7 or 8 trips on the Folkestone line with Burgess. Each time, Burgess let him into the guard's van. Each time, Wygar tested the duplicate keys on the safes, adjusting, filing, testing again. By early May, the keys worked perfectly. Now they needed the lead shot. Micro cliffhanger 2. Pierce and Wygar visited the shot tower in Lambeth separately. Each man purchased £110 of lead shot. No single purchase large enough to raise suspicion, £220 total, the exact weight of the gold they were about to steal. May 15, 1855, evening, London Bridge Station. The signal was simple. James Burgess, the guard assigned to the bullion train that night, walked out of the station. He raised a white handkerchief to his face, wiped, folded it, walked back inside. Edward Wygar, waiting across the street, saw the signal. He notified Pierce. Both men purchased first-class tickets to Dover. They walked to the platform carrying 2 heavy carpet bags. Inside the bags, £220 of lead shot, divided into small courier bags. Also, pincers, wooden wedges, handheld scales, and a homemade wax-sealed die that matched the coat of arms of the bullion dealers. Burgess took their carpet bags and stored them in the guard's van. Wygar, carrying his overalls, followed him inside. He hid in the corner under a pile of coats. At 8:30, the train pulled out of London Bridge. The first stop was Redhill, 35 minutes away. Wygar had 35 minutes to do the impossible. The train rocked and swayed. The oil lamp in the guard's van cast flickering shadows. Wygar pulled the first wooden box toward him, used the pincers to remove the rivets from the iron bands, carefully from the back, so the front of the box still looked sealed. Wedged open the back of the wooden lid. Inside, the Chubb safe. He inserted the first duplicate key. Turned. The lock clicked open. Inside the safe, gold bars, gold sovereigns, American $10 gold eagles. He removed the gold piece by piece, weighed each piece on his handheld scales, replaced it with the exact same weight in lead shot. He worked in near darkness. The train lurched and swayed beneath him. His hands were steady. After 20 minutes, the first safe was empty. He nailed the iron bands back onto the box, pressed the fake wax seal onto the front. In dim light, no one would notice the difference. At Redhill, the train stopped. Tester was waiting on the platform. Burgess handed him the first bag of gold through the window. Tester walked away. Pierce joined Wygar in the guard's van for the rest of the journey. Together, they opened the second and third boxes. More gold, more scales, more lead shot, more fake seals. By the time the train reached Dover at 10:30, all 3 boxes had been emptied and resealed. Pierce and Wygar stepped off the train carrying 2 carpet bags. £224 of gold, £12,000 sterling. They walked out of Dover station and disappeared into the night. The boxes were loaded onto the Channel ferry, weighed at Boulogne. The weight matched, loaded onto a French train, delivered to the Bank of France in Paris, weighed again, the weight matched. Days later, a clerk opened the first box, lead shot. He opened the second box, lead shot. The third box, lead shot. The seals had appeared intact. The weight had matched at 4 separate checkpoints. The theft could have happened in England, on the ferry, or in France. The police had no leads, no suspects, no evidence. For over a year, the crime went unsolved. In 1856, Edward A. Wygar was arrested. Not for the gold robbery, the police still had no idea who'd done it. He was arrested for passing forged checks. He was held in Newgate Prison, awaiting trial. From his cell, A. Wygar sent a message to William Pierce. He asked Pierce to provide for Fanny Kay, A. Wygar's partner and the mother of his child, using A. Wygar's share of the stolen gold. Pierce agreed. Pierce kept all the money for himself. Fanny Kay, 23 years old, broke, desperate, went to the governor of Newgate Prison. She told him everything: who had stolen the gold, how they'd done it, where the keys had come from, how they'd replaced the gold with lead shot, ounce for ounce, on a moving train. The governor questioned A. Wygar. A. Wygar confessed. He testified against Pierce, Tester, and Burgess. In January of 1857, all 4 men stood trial at the Central Criminal Court in London. Pierce was sentenced to 2 years of hard labour. Tester and Burgess were sentenced to 14 years of penal transportation to Australia. A. Wygar, already facing life transportation for the cheque forgery, received a reduced sentence in exchange for his testimony. Most of the gold was never recovered. A year of planning, keys stolen twice, lead shot weighed to the ounce in a rocking train car, seals forged by lamplight, 4 weigh stations fooled, the perfect execution, and it all fell apart because one man wouldn't share £12,000 with the mother of his partner's child. Edward A. Wygar could have kept quiet. Pierce could have kept his word. Fanny Kay could have walked away. But she didn't. There is no such thing as a perfect crime, only perfect execution, waiting to be undone by imperfect people. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. Follow the Unlit Room wherever you listen. Tell a friend who can't sleep. Full story on the main channel. Follow if you're wide awake. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.